When you communicate like a leader, you project confidence without arrogance, clarity without complexity, and empathy without weakness. Welcome back to another episode of Mindset Shift. Today, we're talking about something that can completely transform how people see you, trust you, and remember you. Whether you're leading a team or just starting your career, we're talking about how to communicate like a leader, even if you're not one yet. Because leadership isn't just about authority, it's about influence. And influence starts with how you communicate, not just what you say, but how you make people feel when you say it. When you communicate like a leader, you project confidence without arrogance, clarity without complexity, and empathy without weakness. So in this episode, we'll break down how to speak so people listen, how to listen so people speak, and how to use your voice, not just to inform, but to inspire. Let's begin. 1. The foundation. Communication is energy, not words. Every word you speak carries energy. You've probably noticed that some people can say very little, but everyone listens, while others talk a lot and no one remembers a thing. The difference isn't vocabulary, it's presence. When you speak with intention, when you mean what you say, and your tone matches your purpose, people feel it. So before you think about what to say, ask yourself, what energy am I bringing into this conversation? Are you calm or rushed? Defensive or curious? Your energy speaks before your mouth does. Leaders don't just communicate to be heard, they communicate to connect. 2. Clarity over complexity. Leadership communication is clear. It doesn't need to sound impressive. It needs to be understood. When you speak with clarity, you build trust. People don't have to guess what you mean. They don't have to decode your message. Here's a simple rule. If it takes people too long to understand you, they'll stop trying. Clarity doesn't mean dumbing things down. It means stripping away the noise so your message lands cleanly. Use short sentences, be direct, and end with what matters. Leaders don't confuse people into agreeing with them. They communicate truth so simply that others see themselves in it. 3. Speak with purpose, not performance. You don't need to sound like anyone else to communicate like a leader. You just need to sound authentic. People can sense when you're trying too hard to impress, but they also recognize sincerity immediately. Every time you speak, in a meeting, an email, or a presentation, ask yourself, what is the purpose of this message? Are you informing, influencing, inspiring, or connecting? Every message should serve one of those 4 purposes. When you speak with purpose, people stop hearing your words and start feeling your intention. That's leadership. 4. Master the pause. Here's a secret powerful communicators know. Silence is not your enemy. The pause between your words, the breath before you answer, is where leadership lives. Most people rush their words because they fear silence will make them look uncertain. But in reality, silence makes you look stronger. It signals thoughtfulness, confidence, control. A leader doesn't fill every moment with sound. A leader uses space to create impact. So the next time you're in a conversation, slow down, pause before you respond, let your words breathe. People will lean in because they'll know you're not just reacting, you're thinking. 5. Listen like a leader. Listening is one of the most underrated leadership skills because while everyone wants to be heard, few people truly listen. Listening like a leader means being fully present, not just waiting for your turn to speak. When someone's talking, don't plan your response. Listen to understand their world, their fears, their motivations, their needs. Here's how leaders listen. They maintain open body language. They nod to acknowledge, not interrupt. They paraphrase to show understanding. And most importantly, they listen for what's not being said. Leaders listen between the lines, to tone, emotion, and silence. Because true communication isn't about talking more, it's about listening better. 6. Communicate confidence, not control. Confidence in communication doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from being comfortable with what you do know and humble about what you don't. People follow those who communicate with calm conviction, not those who talk the loudest. You can project confidence by doing 3 things. 1. Speak slower than you think you should. 2. Keep your tone grounded, not rushed or defensive. 3. Maintain eye contact that feels steady, not forceful. Confidence says, I believe in what I'm saying. Arrogance says, you must believe me because I said it. Communicate from belief, not from ego, and people will start to associate your words with leadership. 7. Emotional intelligence in communication. Leadership communication isn't just logical, it's emotional. Facts make people think, feelings make people act. When you understand how to speak to people's emotions, not manipulate them but move them, you naturally become more influential. To do that, you must develop empathy. Before you send that message, before you give that feedback, ask, how will this make the other person feel? Empathy turns communication into connection, and connection turns everyday conversations into moments of influence. 8. Simplicity is strength. Sometimes professionals overcomplicate their communication because they think simplicity looks unpolished. But the opposite is true. The clearer your message, the more powerful it becomes. Think of it this way. If you can't explain an idea simply, you probably don't understand it deeply enough yet. Simplicity builds credibility. It makes people trust that you know what you're talking about. So when you write or speak, strip away jargon and unnecessary detail. Speak to be remembered, not just to be correct. Leaders don't drown people in data. They illuminate ideas. 9. The power of tone. Your tone is the emotional fingerprint of your message. You could say the right words, but if your tone doesn't match your intention, the message fails. Leaders adjust their tone with awareness. They know when to be assertive and when to be empathetic, when to be inspiring and when to be firm, when to challenge and when to comfort. Here's the rule. The tone you choose should serve the relationship, not just the moment. Before you speak, check your tone, because leadership isn't just what you say, it's how you say it. 10. Leading conversations, not controlling them. When you communicate like a leader, your goal is to guide, not dominate. You create psychological safety. You make others feel their voice matters. Start by asking thoughtful questions. What do you think? How would you approach this? What's your perspective? Leadership communication empowers others to engage, not retreat, because the best communicators don't talk at people, they talk with them. 11. Delivering feedback like a leader. One of the hardest and most defining communication skills is giving feedback. Most people avoid it or deliver it poorly, but leaders use feedback to grow people, not to shame them. Here's a formula that works. Acknowledge, align, advise, acknowledge. Start with something genuine you appreciate about the person or effort. Align, state your intention, that your goal is to help, not criticize. Advise, offer a clear, specific recommendation for improvement. Feedback isn't about being right, it's about helping others rise. And when you deliver it with empathy and respect, you communicate leadership without ever saying a word about it. 12. The consistency principle. Leadership communication is consistent. You can't inspire confidence one day and confuse people the next. Your tone, your follow-up, your presence, they all build your reputation over time. When people know what to expect from you, they trust you. Be consistent in how you speak, respond, and show up, especially under pressure. Because leadership isn't revealed when things are easy. It's revealed in how you communicate when things are hard. 13. The self-talk that shapes your voice. Before you can communicate like a leader to others, you must first communicate like one to yourself. Your inner dialogue shapes your outer presence. If your internal voice is filled with doubt, apology, or fear, it shows up in how you speak. So speak to yourself with the same clarity and compassion you'd show a colleague. Replace "I'm not sure I belong here" with "I have value to offer here." When your inner voice strengthens, your external voice transforms. Leadership communication begins within. 14. Leading without a title. Through your words, you don't need a position to communicate like a leader. You just need awareness, empathy, and courage. Every message, written or spoken, is an opportunity to lead, to bring calm in confusion, to create clarity in chaos, to turn small moments into meaningful influence. When you communicate clearly, listen deeply, and speak with purpose, people start to see you differently, not as just another professional, but as someone worth following. 15. Leadership begins in conversation. Every time you choose to respond thoughtfully instead of react emotionally, you're leading. Every time you bring clarity instead of confusion, you're leading. Every time you make someone feel heard, valued, or understood, you're leading. So don't wait for a title to communicate like a leader. Start right now. In the next meeting, the next message, the next moment that requires your voice. Because when you learn to communicate like a leader, you don't just change how others see you. you change how you see yourself. Thank you for tuning in to Mindset Shift. If this episode inspired you to lead with your words, hit the like button, subscribe for more weekly reflections, and share it with someone who's ready to step into their own influence. Because remember, communication isn't just about words, it's about presence. And when your presence carries clarity, empathy, and purpose, you're already leading.